morning and welcome to Corento's BizML online event and live webcast from Corento's library. We have a great set today. We are just trying some technical issues here slightly. Yes, now we go. So we at Corento, we are an innovative consulting company of app and AI professionals with a passion for growth. What we do deliver customer solutions on application development and modernizations, and insightful AI solutions to benefit our customers' business issues. We have a great set of participants today with us, a very international set of people. So thank you already at this point for attending this event. Thank you for your time investment. I believe that we will have a very, very great content today. The content today is going to be generative AI. And a couple of words to basically behind this. Personally, I have been very much amazed about the recent development and how fast the development of generative AI has been in the recent, I would say, in the past 2 years. It is only 6 years ago when Google researchers announced the transformer model in one of their research papers. And since then, we have seen a sort of flurry of new solutions, platforms, models generated based on that research work done by Google. We have seen GPT-3, and then just recent GPT-4. We have seen OpenAI, ChatGPT platform, Google Bard AI, Google Minerva, which is actually a model that helps solve mathematical problems directly using AI. And there's an ongoing list of new and existing solutions on that one. Really, what has made this all possible is the enabling technology. None of this, I strongly believe that none of this would have been possible without the cloud computing model that has been in place for quite a many years already, because there's a lot of computing capacity that's needed to actually build and compute those huge models that are needed to support generative AI. So today's topic is going to be with our great team to discuss about the latest development on generative AI and its potential and implications. And we will go directly to this part. So we have a great team here today. We have Ted Schönbeck, Head of Cloud Technology from Google. Ted is currently in Sweden, attending online and remotely. Hi, Ted. Good morning.
Hi, everyone.
Cannot hear your voice at this point. Can you say
not?
something, please?
Can you hear my voice now?
Not working. Okay. Let us try to figure it out. Cannot hear your voice at the moment. Check that your mic is on. And then we have Max Mikkelson from Milton, Head of New Markets. As I understand.
You used to be, now Managing Director of Milton Networks.
Okay, yes. All right. So you're fast-moving person. And then we have Corento's own Janne Flink. And Janne is our data and AI lead. So Max, would you briefly introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, good morning. So my name is Max Mikkelson. I'm the Managing Director of Milton Networks. Milton Networks is a public affairs agency. So we advise our clients on how to navigate the complex world of policy and politics and regulation. My background is that previous to my career in consulting, I did a career in tech policy. I worked almost 15 years for Microsoft over in Finland, in London, in Dublin, Ireland, when particularly the sort of cloud revolution more or less happened, and a lot of tech policy issues related to that. Prior to my career in tech policy, I worked for the Finnish government, or actually 3 Finnish governments, advising ministers on issues. The longest period of time I served as the chief of staff or the main advisor for the Minister of Finance, Olli Niinistö.
Great to have you here today.
Thanks.
And Janne, briefly about your background.
Yes. Hello all. I'm Janne Flink. I'm the data and AI lead here at Corento. I work with all things data, from pre-sales and concepting to actual hands-on implementation. So that's my background. Mainly been working with Google Cloud, as you can probably see from my shirt here, but all platforms go as long as it's data and AI related, of course.
Okay, very good. Hey, Chet, can you hear us now? And let's see how your audio is working.
I think the audience can hear me. It's you.
Okay,
who can
we're
hear me.
fixing that, and then we'll see what is gonna happen there.
No,
But while
yeah,
we're waiting for
it works.
to join with
No,
audio,
it
I would like
works.
to ask our attendees to check the poll questions. We have a poll questions that is actually sort of introductory questions here. That have you used any generative AI tools? And there are four options on that one. So please select one of them, and let me just quickly send my voice, and then let's see how people are responding on this. So actually, great to see that right now the biggest share is with that I am actively using generative AI solution for business purposes, which is actually I think that is also evidence for that I said earlier about the sort of quick ramp up of generative AI and sort of immediate benefits that our people are seeing. And then now that status is changing a bit, but at least for the personal use, people are getting experiences and gaining experience on generative AI, which is great to hear. And then we are still waiting for Ted to join. All right. Okay. So Ted, let's do a quick audio check. Would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. So the sound works for the audience, but not for you.
Okay. Good. It is just that we cannot hear you.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. Very good. So what we will then do is that we will trust Ted that all the attendees will get his audio. So please go ahead, Ted, with your presentation.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. And again, at least in the chat, people stated that they can hear me. So assuming that. So my name is Schönbeck. I'm part of the Nordic Organization for Cloud, heading up our tech org. So all of our amazing cloud architects and specialists are in the Nordic org that I'm working with. So what I want to do in this in the coming 25 minutes or so, giving everyone a little bit of a crash course what generative AI is all about. Both from a technological perspective, but more maybe giving you some inspiration and showing you off a little bit what it can do. But more importantly, I want to talk about how you approach this from a platform perspective, because this is not about just doing some fun stuff in the coming months. This is about building a long-term strategy for your business with generative AI and how you do that and what you need to think about doing that. Okay, so let's get started. Obviously, the first thing that everyone is talking about and the hype word of 2023 is large language models, or LLMs as they are called. And I think this is what people are talking about day and night these days. But as Marco showed you initially, this technology has actually been around for quite some time. So what are large language models? Well, simply put, they are very, very complex, advanced, powerful machine learning algorithms that can understand and predict and generate data out of human language. And that they're trained on billions of parameters. And usually the way you do it, and I think people are struggling a little bit with two words there, large language models and foundation models. And usually you have a large language model, and then you can build foundation models from that for different use cases, be that images, be that text, be that programming code. So that's kind of how the words connect. But what really makes large language models unique are three things, I would say. First of all, they have what is called emergent abilities, which means they can do things they were not trained to do. That sounds more scary than it is. But traditionally, machine learning and AI, you train something on a specific use case, and it could do that use case. But with large language models, you open up for a world of new use cases beyond what it was actually trained to do. The second thing that is critical here is an amazing ability to understand human language, to interact and give back and communicate. And this is about creating an interface between humans and AI, making it simple. That's a core part. And the last thing is the ability to analyze and see patterns in data. And when you combine that, the ability to see patterns in data with the ability to communicate with a human, you get an extremely powerful technology for making magic. As said, the technology has been around since 2017 when Google introduced transformer architecture, which we open sourced, which we almost always do. Actually, the T in ChatGPT stands for transformer. So they built their solution on our technology. And since then, there's been a lot of innovation in this space from Google's and others. And, Google has more than 3,000 large language model engineers. And we are using large language models today in Google Search, but also in Google Cloud products in different ways. So people sometimes ask me, why, if you've done all this, why didn't you bring this to market, part of this, which is the text aspects before ChatGPT? Well, I think there's a few things we need to take in mind here. We could have done this in 2020 with Lambda. But for us, a constant reiteration about responsibility and ethical aspects is core to us. These models are extremely powerful, but they can also go wrong. They can also hallucinate, and also just the social benefits of this technology. So we are constantly asking ourselves in everything we do, is there a problem with this? Is this social beneficiary? Is this good for everyone in society? How can we do this with privacy in mind? How can we do this with scientific standards? And doing that means things go slightly slower, but it becomes a lot better, we believe. So that's kind of the thing. So if large language models have been around for years, what's the big buzz right now? Well, the big buzz is actually around something called generative AI, obviously, powered by large language models. And I just want to be clear, because I think people maybe haven't realized this. And sometimes I talk to people who say, oh, it's just a chatbot. Generative AI will have a transformative impact on businesses, industries, and societies. I turned 50 years old this year. I know this will be the biggest technology shift in my lifetime. So don't underestimate the power of this technology. It will transform mankind in many different ways. And for the first time, I understand, Sundar Pichai, our CEO, had a quote, I think it's 4 years ago, when he said AI will have bigger impact on mankind than electricity or fire. And I think for the first time I understand that. But now it's up to us together to make sure that becomes a positive impact on mankind, which I believe it will be, but we need to make it in a responsible way. So what is generative AI then? Well, we asked our own Bard. Generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create entirely new content, text, images, media, videos, even programming code based on just human prompts interacting with it. That's really the magic sauce here. And obviously, Bard being the first kind of solution we introduced openly for the market earlier this year, and on Google I/O 2 weeks ago, we brought this to 180 countries across the planet. And while we did that, we also swapped out the underlying infrastructure and large language model for it, making it extremely powerful and capable, also bringing in images and text into the chatbot. Unfortunately, not available for the European Union right now. And again, that's coming back to responsibility. We want to make sure this is GDPR compliant. We want to live up to every possible standard within the European Union. Some of our colleagues in this industry didn't care about that. They just brought it to market. And people are every day across the Nordics breaching GDPR using it because they don't understand, they don't know. So for us, it's about upholding responsibility in all this. Good news, it's coming in 40 languages. We're testing this internally already. And all the Nordic languages is part of the roadmap, which is great fun. So this will come out hopefully soon. We're working hard on bringing this out as soon as we possibly can. But, and the important thing for us as businesses, there will be no Bard for enterprises, simply because consumers and enterprises have different needs. As a consumer, you want to create a trip to Florida, you want to write a poem to your wife, or wherever it might be. Enterprises, you want to have that magic as well, but you need to be able to do that in an enterprise way, right? You want to control your data. You want to make sure you're compliant. You want to control cost. You want to be able to integrate this massive technology into your existing tools and workflows. Boring, yes, but a central part of doing this successfully. So the way we will do this is we will transform the use of large language models and foundation models across Google's entire portfolio. We are building this into Workspace. We are building this into BigQuery. We're building this into every, in the entire infrastructure. We're building this into Google Search. But what I will focus on here is how we're bringing this into an enterprise class generative AI platform, specifically dedicated to generative AI. But before diving into how we're doing this, I want to just take a moment and talk about one thing where we take a very, very clear stand, and we are seeing the industry following slowly into our view of the world. We are convinced there is no one large language model to rule them all. There will not be that, simply because different models have different strengths, different weaknesses, different processing cost. Let me give you an example. If you ask Google Search, what's the capital of Finland? Or if you ask ChatGPT, what's the capital of Finland? Giving the answer Helsinki is going to consume between 20 to 50 times more compute power in ChatGPT. That's a lot of compute power. That's a lot of carbon footprint going to waste. So finding the right models for the right choice at the right time is going to be critical. If you want to answer simple questions, you don't need a model that can write a master thesis about fusion power for 300 pages. So having this balance is critical. So the way we are approaching this is like this. So the strategy from Google perspective is going to build around a core model of ours called Palm 2. Which I have on my shirt here. So Palm 2 is an amazing model. We introduced Palm 1 as a research paper about a year ago, and a few weeks ago we announced Palm 2. And what makes Palm 2 unique in a few different ways is it's a big model, but we can massively build small and medium sizes and a lot of different things out of it. And let me give you an example. Med Palm 2. 10 months ago, we started to train Palm on only medical data, doctor's data. And in December, it actually passed the US doctor's exam, 65%. You need 60% to pass. We didn't make a big fuss about this. A few weeks ago, it reached 85% on the same test, putting it among the 10% best doctors in the US. Now, that's not about replacing doctors, but it's about increasing productivity for doctors, offloading doctors, giving doctors peace of mind and access to the latest, greatest findings, right? Another example, last week, we introduced SecPalm 2, which is a model trained only to detect cyber attacks and anomalies in traffic, which we are now building into our platform. And in this way, we're building small and medium and a lot of different sizes of models. Now, you might be thinking, Ted, you just said that there will not be one large language model to rule them all. That's true. That's why we are bringing multiple other models into our platform. More than 80 models we will provide inside our platform. Of course, our own models, but several of our partners' models, and more than 30 open source models, giving you an amazing ability to choose and pick the ones you want. But let's say, oh, Ted, that sounds so complex. Just give me a few simple foundation models that I can start to use tomorrow. We'll do that too. So with Palm 2, we created 6 foundation models. Text, this is, well, ChatGPT, Bard, summarize this report, write an article, all of that, that. Code, this is going to transform the way developers build code. Really helping them complete code, fix code, optimize code, transfer code in an amazing way. Images, creating images. Actually, all the pictures in this presentation, I created myself using Google Cloud Generative AI. So from a creative contexting, advertising. Dialogue, this is going to be huge because now we can build entirely new ways of creating customer service, customer support for dialogues. Audio, music, all the way to video for creative contenting. And there's a lot of demos on this online that you can check out. But I just want to give you, just to get your brains going, I'm going to show you a few examples from an image perspective. How simple this is. And in this example, I'm using 4 words. That's the prompt that I'm sending to the AI to get the picture back. 4 words. I could obviously use more words. But in this example, I have small kids and I'm doing fashion shopping. Well, they're not so small anymore. Fashion shopping, spring shopping for them. So I sent the 4 words, spring, fashion, spring collection. Children, fashion, spring collection into the engine. And these are 4 examples of pictures I get back. The interesting thing here is that, first of all, the clothes look great. You could just take these clothes and start producing them tomorrow. Another interesting thing is none of these kids exists. Never have, never will. This is entirely dynamically created by the AI pixel for pixel. So if I do the exact same prompt again, I will get 4 other pictures with other kids, with other clothes. These are not photos. This is dynamically generated content by the AI. And just imagining if I add more details to this. Me and my wife have this corny thing that we take turn every year doing a weekend trip together, just the 2 of us. And this year it's my turn. And I've had this long-term dream of going to the Faroe Islands. It seems like such a mythical, magical, remote place. So I searched for some pictures. Actually, there's a 2-star Michelin restaurant there. That's the reason. But I searched for some cool pictures for this. And these are some of the pictures I got. So this is Faroe Islands. Okay, this looks great. This is what I like with Faroe Islands, actually. But I don't think my wife will enjoy that. So I changed to sunny Faroe Islands. Now, that's going to be an easier sell for me when they're telling her that we're going there. So these are just examples how you can work with pictures. Let's say you have a product that you want to introduce into this and then add the AI magic. Well, here we have a bag. I take 8 pictures of the bag from different angles. And then I just start prompting. These are some examples of what you can do. The first one, bag covered in dust at the edge of a cliff in the Grand Canyon, photography, sunlight, lens flare. Or the third one, bag on a rooftop bar in New York, bouquet, product photography. This is how you really can start being creative. And this is just 1 out of thousands of use cases to get your head going here. But let's say, I want to move beyond just content creation. I want to make this part of my business model. Yeah, and I think that's where Palm 2 creates such an amazing foundation compared to other models. First of all, Palm 2 is natively elastic, which means we can build almost any size out of it. It's naturally multilingual, more than 100 languages. It has an amazing ability to do scientific reasoning across data, across coding. But to simplify for you, we created 4 standard models, 4 different sizes: Gecko, Otter, Bison, and Unicorn, depending on the use case. With Gecko, 200 million parameters. So just to compare, GTP4, they haven't published the size of it, but estimates are that it's more than 1 trillion parameters, more than 1,000 billion parameters. Gecko is 200 million parameters. It's less than 1,000th of what GPT-4 is, but it's amazing. If you want to build a chatbot for your web page, it doesn't need to be able to write a master thesis about fusion power. It's just answering questions on your web page. Use Gecko. The cost for that is going to be a fraction of other models. And then you can kind of move and you can test and play around with this. But even when you go for Unicorn, which is our biggest latest generation model, and there's an open white paper on this. When we compare this with GTP4, and it compares similarly. We are slightly better sometimes. They are slightly better sometimes. We're equal. It's equal, I would say. But we can do this at 1/3 to 1/6 the cost. And that's just if you go for the big one. If you go for Bison, which is like 1/20th the cost, it can cover 80% of all your generative AI use cases. So having this ability to pick and choose for the right platform is core to this. So how do you get access to this? Well, 2 ways. The first one, externalized API. This is more like OpenAI, right? You can access it through the API. If you want a bit of user interface, we have something we call Maker Suite, so making it more easier for you to work with. Or you go for the integrated end-to-end platform, which we believe most businesses will want. They want to have the enterprise platform to do this. So taking a look at that enterprise platform, I think I lost a picture here. Okay, so I'll talk through it. So on the right, you see this enterprise platform that we have. At the top, Google Workspace. We're building this into Google Workspace, creating pictures, creating emails, all of that. Then we're building building blocks, simple to use for business users. Currently, there's 4 building blocks, but we're adding more and more for building simple chatbots on your web page, to Discovery AI, which is for building retail search engines or recommendation engines, and healthcare AI, where we pre-built models for healthcare use cases. Then we have Generative AI App Builder, which is a core part when it comes to addressing developers, simplifying how you bring all of this technology into your apps, be that chatbots, be that creating images, videos, things like that. But at the bottom, and an important part, is Vertex AI. Vertex AI is already our unified AI platform for neural networks and other things. Now we're just bringing the generative AI power into this. So you get an AI studio, you can build models, you can surface new APIs, but the magic thing here is Model Garden. Because with Model Garden, that's where we bring those 80 models. So you can pick and choose whichever model you want. But the really cool thing with Model Garden is this. Because if you compare to many other models out there, you have a vendor creating one black box, huge, large language model. That's amazing. It's amazing. But you have zero ability to affect that. So you end up consuming that for your use cases, which is great in the beginning. But we believe over time, that line of innovation will push down on your business model. We believe this technology is too powerful to just consume. We want to bring you on to surf the waves of this transformation together with us. We call this open shared innovation. And if you look at the right here, you have Model Garden, where we bring more than 80 models, and it will be more models over time, from Google, partners, open source, right? The magic thing here is you can take any of those models and tune it and train it on your data. And out comes something we call adapter models. Those are your models. No one else in the industry has that model. That's your innovation, your differentiator, your intellectual property that you can use internally, that you can surface as an API to your customers. So instead of just consuming this amazing technology, you are innovating with this technology. And I think that's an amazingly important thing. The architecture for this looks like this. And this is also, there's so much work that has gone into to make this possible. On the left, you have the large language models that are frozen. They are hosted in Google Cloud. And we've done deep optimization of this, optimizing the large language models all the way down into the microchips in our data centers, right? To be able to run them and crunch them effectively. And then we created a magic virtualization layer, giving you the ability to train and build your own models without changing the core models. So we can make this extremely efficient doing that. But for many, the important part is that anything that happens inside your cloud tenant is yours. Data is encrypted, we don't look at it, we don't sell it, we cannot even use it in any way. So once you use the model, we process the question and we give you an answer back from the model. Then the data is deleted, we don't store it, we don't use it to train our models, and any innovation that happens inside your tenant is yours, right? So this is how the architecture for this looks like. A very important part, moving to generative AI, is the cost aspects, because generative AI can be expensive. Google has done so much innovation in this space over the last 10 years because we had to power our own data centers. We developed TPUs, the world's most powerful machine learning and AI processors. And those will give you a so much more efficient way of training and running your models and serving those models to your customers, giving you better price performance. But just as important is the sustainability aspects. We cannot make the move to AI if it messes up the environment. So having an underlying infrastructure that first of all runs on sustainable energy, which will, for Google, we've been carbon neutral since 2007, and we're running on renewable energy since 2017. But we're building these tensor clusters, as we call them, across the planet, dedicated for AI, with the 24/7, every second green energy directly into them. So a move to AI will not mess up your sustainability goals. And on top of that, you have real-time visibility into your carbon footprint doing it. Last but not least, we're building an open dynamic ecosystem of partners around this. We want to bring in partners, be that services partners, be that Codento, be that software application providers, be that technology partners. And at the bottom, some examples of foundation models that we are offering inside Vertex already. The amazing Midjourney, the best image generator on the planet, is available inside Vertex. So you can use it. And if we kind of summarize this, the Google Cloud Enterprise Generative AI, there's a few keywords that are central for us. Choice. You have the ability to choose the model you want at the time you want, giving you the best price performance, but also knowing the transparency and freedom of choosing. Which large language model will be the best 2 years from now? I don't know. I know it's not going to be GPT-4. I know it's not going to be Palm 2, but I don't know which model it is. The models come and go, platforms remain. So don't bet on a large language model, bet on a platform. I think that's a central aspect here. And if there's something, a career in IT have taught me, never bet against open source. Once the open source world comes up to speed, and with our platforms, you don't have to choose, because there will be large language models coming and going. Integration, we are the only hyperscaler that owns large language models and can spread that across our platform and optimize it all the way down into the infrastructure. Microsoft is an owner in OpenAI, which many others are. OpenAI are doing business with many other customers. Microsoft has zero control of what happens to GPT or other models. We can really create the integrated platform. Security and control. Moving to AI, you will have the exact same compliance as with any Google services. There's no difference here. You don't even have to think about that. What happens to my data? Just like any Google Cloud service. Innovation, continuous development of innovation, new models coming out, your own models coming out, open source models coming out. We have an amazing model called Gemini that's coming out later next year, developed by DeepMind. So just knowing that you bet on a platform that will constantly just improve. And being able to do this in a cost-effective way on a scalable platform that's sustainable. Those are some key aspects, we believe. So instead of just running out and doing a bit of generative AI, build a strategy for the future of doing this. And also just a small pointer before my final slide, where I will give you some business examples of this. Think about how you approach this. AI is fueled by data. And we are seeing now most of the Google Cloud customers use, our data platform, BigQuery and other tools. And all of our AI tools are completely integrated into those data platforms, making it super simple to use. The problem is that many other, if I go to AWS or Azure, most customers on AWS or Azure do not use their data platforms. They use Databricks or Snowflake or something else, and you could probably tell me why that is the case. That means when you go for the AI platform there, you have to do a lot of integration work between your AI platform and your data platform, and it's kind of complicated to do that. So I think about, you can definitely do just, our AI platform on top of Azure or something else, but think about the data and AI aspects, how they connect. Last but not least, I want to give you 3 examples, quick examples that I've been involved in how you can use data, generative AI in your companies. The first one, which I think is massively transformative, is how you interact with data. Over the last few years, we've been trying to democratize data, becoming data-driven, and we're using all of these BI tools, be that Power BI, be that Tableau, be that our own Looker. And I think, we're doing a good job, creating these dashboards, but it's still a lot of work, and it's still hard to democratize the data into anyone. Here, we completely changed the game, because now you can talk to your data. Imagining you've done 1,000 deep customer satisfaction interviews, and you have all of this data on your computer, and you're going to try to understand that. And imagining instead, someone opening the door, in comes this super smart friend that read through all of those 1,000, and now you talk to that friend. Could you summarize the report for me? What are the main complaints in the age group 40 to 45? Could you give me 2 suggestions on how to improve customer satisfaction in the age group 60 to 65? You're talking to your data in natural language, surfacing the insights. This is democratizing data for real. Second example, transform customer service. Imagining you have a customer service agent that read through every product manual that you have, knows it by heart. Read through every documentation you have, knows it by heart. Read through every single prior customer case in the history of your company, knows it by heart. Can connect all these 3, and you can have a natural language discussion with it. It's impossible for a human agent to ever get to that level. And last but not least, transforming e-commerce experiences. Imagining you're going to your e-commerce website, you're going to buy a new coffee table to your sofa, and you're being greeted by an AI. You can talk to the AI, and they will go like, yeah, I just bought a sofa. Could you show me a picture of it? Yeah, here's a picture of it. Well, okay, here are some tables that I think will go really well with that, all the way to ending the transaction. Completely transforming e-commerce's experiences. So these are just some examples out of millions. But my core message here is, this is going to change the way you do your business. So don't run out and play around with something. Think through, and build a long-term platform, because this is going to be a central part of the success of your business, whatever business you are in. And if you want to have more information on this, seeing is believing. Go to YouTube. There are so many videos from Google Cloud where you can really see deep examples, demos, but also just a few days ago, we announced completely how we are refurbishing Google Search, Google Ads, using this technology as well if you are in marketing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ted. Yeah. Luckily, we can hear now because it was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Hey, Ted, what is your view? Can you name or think of sort of industries or verticals that you think that will benefit the most of using generative AI?
So I think that this is usually when new technologies comes out, it's very like, well, this is going to be perfect for this vertical or that vertical. This really spans across. If you have data that you want to understand better, and I think most industries do, if you have interactions with customers, be that customer support, be that customer service, you can use this anywhere, obviously. So I think that's the creative content power, the collaborative power, how we're bringing this to workspace for everything from summarizing meetings to writing emails, all of that. So I think it really spans across any industry. I did a demo the other day for a bank where we took here are 100 quarterly reports that came out the last 2 weeks. And now as an investor, you can talk to the quarterly reports. So out of these 100, which one do you think is the best buy? Here you go. An amazing example for FSI business. So I really think it works across almost any industry, to be honest, almost any industry.
So basically, any customer, any industry should start basically finding out more and building your strategy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as you said. Yeah. Okay, very good. Hey, Janne, since we are at Connect, we are discussing with several customers around AI solutions, how to benefit and use that for business purposes. Can you give us sort of a couple of specific examples of the Gen AI or generative AI type of solutions that we are discussing with our customers?
So they've mainly been centered around automatic report generation. So feeding the model some prior data, historical data, and then asking it to highlight certain things, or what does it highlight? Because these things that it highlights differs per customer that these reports are generated for. So instead of having a human having to arduously write them and looking at the data and crunching the numbers, the generative AI would do that. And then another one is this kind of text summarization that has come up as well. So feeding this free-form text to the model and asking it to group it into certain categories, for example, and summarizing certain things from the data. So those types of use cases.
Very good. Let's see what our audience thinks that about the. Let's see, what is it? Click here about the next poll. So I'm asking that which one of the following foundation model you find the most important or promising. But this time, please select one. And if you think that all of them are equally important, you can select the last one, which is all of the above. But let's see how you view that. What is the most important one? So basically, Janne, you said that in our discussions is probably the text at this point.
Yes, text mainly.
All right. So let's see how this goes. So now all of the above is leading, basically all are equally, and then it's text, code, and dialogue. It's actually sort of quite understandable, especially in our industry and service industry. The code is really important.
Yes, and
I think that Janne, do you see that will become a sort of revolution how we develop our and customer software?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to touch upon. That especially internally, what we have discussed has been around code and code generation and code commenting and understanding a large code base really fast.
Yeah. So it will transform our business as well, right?
Yes, I believe so.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much for your responses. Max, you're very well connected to different stakeholders and powerhouses of the society. Do you think, what is your view? Do your sort of connections and people, do they have enough information and knowledge around AI possibilities and especially generative AI?
I think the GTP4 in a way has really made a huge change in the way people think, because very many has been playing around and fooled around with it and tried it out. So I think it's getting more concrete, both the sort of scary part that people are afraid of, as well as having some kind of an experience. In a way, I could say that also for policymakers, AI has become something tangible. So it's not only PowerPoint stuff and text, but it is from a very academic kind of regulatory discussion, it has moved to become a real world issue, so to say.
Yeah.
And that we could see already. I mean, it was on the agenda for the G7 leaders just on the global level the last week. So it's starting to pick up speed.
Yeah. All right. Very good. So that is actually a good sort of bridge to your presentation, which will touch upon on the regulation in AI and also perhaps from the art side as well. So please go ahead, Max.
Yes, I'll finalize with a couple of comments about art. As a personal background, I'm kind of when it comes to visual art, I'm not only passionate about the tech side of it, but I spend quite some time around the visual arts scene in Finland and in the Nordics. So I'll finalize with a couple of questions regarding that. At least it is one of the discussions that are ongoing. But I'll start as I'm the guy without the black T-shirt, so I'm not the. I focus on the policy side of things and not on the tech side of things. But there is a famous American professor, Melvin Kranzberg, who spent his academic career around researching. So he's a historian. So he has focused all of his research around the history of technology. So how has that created? And he has created, I think, 8 laws of tech history, out of which the first one is the most famous one. And it's a very useful quote also when it comes to artificial intelligence. The quote or the law, his first law goes like, technology is neither good nor bad, nor is it neutral. So from a societal point of view, I think all of this is valid. Tech and AI is not good nor bad, but it will have implications of the society we live in, which policymakers need to be aware of. At the same time, I couldn't resist about looking into some old archives and things like that. This is a piece of news from the New York Times on July the 7th, 1958, about the US Navy that has come up with a device that will be able to walk, talk, see, write, reproduce itself, and be conscious of its existence. So yes, there has been hype around what could be seen as AI for quite some time, but I certainly think that we are living in a different era right now. Now we're talking about something that's quite tangible, but here already you could see some of the, I would say, tech hype around things. What is going on is a lot about mythologizing AI currently. So as there is a lot of discussion, there is a lot, what I believe are myths and creating myths around AI. There is this societal discussion about whether this is a revolution that will really make the world a lot almost like a level playing field and for each and everyone to be to utilize all of the capabilities there. And then there is this doomsday kind of thing. This is the end of humanity as we know it piece. So I would divide it like there is a utopian tech enthusiasm that is important for the discussion, but at the same time not really sort of more on the utopian side. And then there is a dystopian side of the conversation, like end of humanity, doomsday thing. But in the middle, that's where the real policy making is happening, and that is where different businesses, organizations need to sort of pay attention. So there are myths and there are forecasts, but the important thing is here and now and sort of what needs to be taken into account. And yes, there are concerns, and yes, there are new questions that this will raise. Questions that will go in a way on steroids. So if things really go bad, they will go bad quite fast because this has to do more with the computational power that is behind the large language models. that they can backfire very fast. So it's about the speed. There might be different ways of when things can go wrong, and they need to be calculated in as risks. Yes, there is room for hype and there is room to explore. Both of them are true, but I think people and businesses should be aware of a lot of these things. I think we are transforming in a way from a era of human-computer interaction more towards human-computer symbiosis, where it's beginning to start becoming a little bit more problematic, even though they are tools to know where the sort of borderlines in this context goes. Well, as we know now, when looking at the sort of regulatory aspects here, which Ted also referred to here, mentioning GDPR. GDPR is maybe the most commonly known Brussels effect, as legal folks put it. With the Brussels effect, that in a way is embodied in GDPR. It was a piece of regulation that was done by the European Union, but basically it is adopted globally, more or less. So if you look at the hyperscale platform providers, whether it be they Google, Microsoft, whoever, they basically need to adopt to the Brussels effect, meaning they need to take it into account when they create scalable cloud solutions for a global market, not only for a European market. So currently the European Union has a proposal about what it's called an AI Act. It is really, really recent development. So the European Parliament has now made its opinion in a certain committee around the AI Act, and now it will get into a very complicated or quite complicated process, which is called a trialogue, which includes the European Parliament, the European Commission, and the member states, where it needs to be sort of iterated into a new thing. Just to highlight a couple of things about this AI Act that businesses need to take account of. And I would say, as you as business leaders start to experiment around AI things for your business, my advice would be, please take this into account, sort of, even though it's not regulation that is enforced yet. But as you start doing things, it's always wise to sort of somehow be aware of where regulation might be heading, so that you don't go into the completely different direction that you need to adopt to then later. So the regulation starts with defining what are called high-risk AI systems. So it's not one model fits all or one size fits all regulation, but about really looking into which are the areas that could potentially cause significant risks for safety, fundamental rights, and societal values. So there is kind of a risk system about what, if, for example, if you have AI systems that are clearly connected to critical infrastructure, for example, it's a high risk area of applying AI systems. You need to take different kind of safeguards than for a customer chatbot out there. They have different sort of risk scenarios if things go wrong. Then there will be areas of prohibited practices. There are principles about transparency and accountability. This is a very complicated area because this goes into the area what AI folks are calling like explainable AI. And that's a really, really challenging area to try to somehow explain what is happening when it is actually unexplainable by nature. And that will cause like some severe or raise some severe questions. It goes on around data and privacy. It's about governance and supervision. So what are the models there? Then there are market surveillance and certification related things. And then there is a smaller piece, which isn't really regulatory, but it's more like promoting European cooperation. This is, let's say, a Eurocentric view that has some issues related to particularly geopolitics and China, but also on transatlantic relations, meaning EU-US relations, as we know, which have been also things that the tech industry has been dealing with when it comes particularly on protecting personal data and transferring data across borders when it comes to cloud-related platforms, which has been under scrutiny and a lot of regulatory work the recent recent days. My point here with the AI Act, that's just only one piece of European regulation that needs to be taken into account and is in the making, is there is more to come. So the whole 2020s, in a way, the next decade or the decade that we're living, will be an area of very much tech regulation. First point here is people misunderstand tech regulation fairly often. There is a misunderstanding, for example, around artificial intelligence, that no rules would apply for the artificial intelligence world. Yes, every rule applies to the artificial intelligence world, including GDPR. It's not like an unregulated area as such. So it is regulated. The second piece is, yes, it will need more regulation. There is a famous kind of quote here that has to do with the Edward Snowden revelations, or the Edward Snowden piece that already some time has passed around, that the tech industry got really annoyed with how the US government at the time performed when it comes to security and surveillance. And there was an emergency meeting called for the White House, and the tech industry leaders wanted to meet President Obama and complain about how the government is really behaving in the surveillance world. It was a heated debate, and all the big US tech companies participated, and Obama, in the end of the meeting, concluded by saying, yes, there is things to do around the surveillance thing and making things a lot clearer, but I have a feeling the guns will turn, and concluded the meeting with those words. And that's exactly what has happened for the tech industry. The guns have turned. It's not the governments that are under fire here or under scrutiny. It's the tech giants that are under the loop of the policymakers. Which brings me to an old thing, is that you may not take an interest in politics, but that doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you. And that's good to remember for all businesses, whoever they are. But there's a lot of it's not only happening in Europe, it's also happening in the US. May 16th, OpenAI, Sam Altman was in front of a special Senate committee for a public hearing around artificial intelligence. Ted already mentioned the fact that BARD isn't available in the European Union currently. And then just last week, that generative AI shakes global diplomacy at G7 summit in Japan. So this was already on a let's say high politics level thing. It is on a high visibility level, and there is regulation going on. The advice for every business is to somehow try to navigate and predict what might be happening here, and particularly look into, I would say, business risks. So as I serve on a few company boards, and I think it will be important to look into these things. I think all boards should be not only focusing on cybersecurity and security-related sort of risk management, but from AI, as I would sit in a board, I would be super interested in having what is the policy or what are the principles that we use when we look into experimenting with artificial intelligence from a responsibility point of view. How is it aligned with what we consider human interests? What is the fairness principles that we do? And above all, how is all of this related to the safety things? Because it is a tool, and it is like generative AI as such is really fast and scalable. And it goes to the fact that it is like acting on steroids, which makes it sort of things that if things go wrong, they go wrong fast, but they can also go wrong really badly. So don't be hesitant, but talk about it and look into this. I'll finalize with a couple of words about the art bubble, as I call it, and artificial intelligence. There's a lot of talk around artificial intelligence, both when it comes to music, when it comes to visual arts, when it comes to images created by artificial intelligence. What is the rise of AI? Is art dead, dude, as the headline says on the left side? For me, as an art connoisseur or as a lover of visual art, I haven't seen any interested AI-generated art so far. one piece that leans towards it, but I haven't seen anything that would stand the test of time. With the test of time, I mean something that I think will hold value, artistic value, for more than a day, 2, or a month, but have sort of, will this be valuable from an art history point of view in 30 years' time? For me, it's mostly speculative, unregulated tokens. So it is something that is traded with, but it is like cryptocurrency. It's just like unregulated tokens that have a value, and you can speculate with that. And there is nothing wrong with it as such, but the artistic value isn't particularly moving, touching, or particularly interesting as such. The tech behind it is interesting. The only thing that leans towards something particularly interesting here is a piece I saw a year ago in Helsinki at the Helsinki Art Festival, Helsinki Juhlaviikot, which was an American artist called Holly Herndon, who had trained a AI model to use her voice, her singing voice, but it was a male country singer that sort of stole her voice and sang in 2 microphones, one with his own voice, one with Holly's voice, but using sort of stealing Holly's voice, but still being in the live performance. That was quite interesting. Whether it held some artistic value, maybe not, but it certainly held a tech value here. And I'll finish just by the famous painter William Turner, who in 1839, when it comes to the breakthrough of photography, going in there, thought that the work of arts as such would be sort of end. I'm glad I had my day as a painter. We still have paintings and we still value them. We still love them. I think this is a kind of a photography moment. Yes, there will be AI generated art as there will be photography, and it will be one part of the visual art scene, but it won't kill painting, for example, as an art form.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Max. Very insightful and interesting stuff. Let me quickly change again for this part, and I think this is the time to open the Q&A. Let's see if we have any questions from our audience. Edu is asking that when will the EU AI Act be ready and accepted by EU Parliament? What is your view?
Well, this is going to be a little bit complicated. Now, as I said, it will enter the trialogue sort of phase where 3 parties will negotiate about the final content of it. So the European Parliament will have a voice, the European Commission will have a voice, and the member states will have a voice. The most important piece will be what the member states will say about finding the right solutions for this. Now, this will get complicated as we're heading towards parliament elections. EU parliament elections are going to be next spring. And with that, we will have a new commission entering in the autumn of 2024.
So any sort of forecast about the timeline? So
yes. So if you go into that, I think it will take some time. It will be decided upon next autumn in Brussels, when there are discussions about the next Commission's working program. And when that sort of lobbying around that will find a place, then we'll know when this will be in place. But potentially 2025, 2026.
Okay. All right. Okay. And the Seppo is asking, how could generative AI help kids in the schools to learn or help teachers to teach? Ted, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I think in a lot of different ways, right? Currently, it's been very focused on the negative sides. That people are faking, answers to questions and master theses and stuff like that, which obviously is a problem that teachers need to address. But I think it's I was helping my daughter preparing for a test the other day, and she had received like 50 questions that they should, if you can answer these questions, you're well prepared. And she was working through that, and she was starting to use Bard for answering those questions, and just getting a decent amount of good answers coming out of it. And is it better to read through the book? Probably, but she's done that all through the course, right? So I think it will change in a lot of ways. Just looking at teachers preparing lessons, A lot of that slide decks that teachers are doing look really, really bad. If you check your kids' material, this gives new power for them to create fun, engaging things, creating even videos. I couldn't show the video aspects of what we can do, where it's amazing. Creating videos to explain proteins or whatever it might be. So I think there's a huge uptake for making teaching more fun and easier to understand for kids. So in a lot of different ways.
So actually, it will, in a way, complement what we are doing today, and add things. And as with businesses, perhaps sometimes reduce the cycle time to do things, right? Very good. Any more questions? Not at this point. I think that we are getting closer to the end of our time. So what will happen next? We will send a feedback questionnaire to all the attendees. You will get a call from Riina. We will provide you also the link to access the recording of this webinar. And then we will be proposing to you that if you are willing, we would offer you a free generative AI studio session by Cogento experts. So that will be also the topic that we would like to discuss with you as a next step. So I think that it's time to thank Ted, Max, Janne, and for the great insights and deliveries. Thanks to the audience and attendees. We really appreciate your time investment for our webinar. We will be in touch for the future Cogento webinars. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.